The Anatomy of Consciousness, Discovering the Real Self, 1. The Foundational Error, Mistaking the Body for the Self. The entire predicament of conditioned life begins with a single catastrophic mistake. The living entity identifies itself with matter. Srila Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita as it is, 2.13, that just as a person passes through childhood, youth, and old age in the same body, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The soul is the constant. The body is the changing vessel. This false identification is called ahamkara, false ego. Krishna describes it directly in Bhagavad Gita 13.5-6, listing the 24 elements of material nature, including the 5 great elements, the 10 senses, the mind, and the 3 modes. All of these constitute what we mistakenly call I, but the actual I is distinct from all of them. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 128 that the misidentification of the self with the body is the root cause of all suffering. Until this error is corrected, no lasting peace is possible. 2. The gross body, the outermost layer. The gross physical body is composed of 5 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Bhagavad 7.4. These are called the apara prakriti, the inferior energy of the Lord. The body is a temporary arrangement. It takes birth, grows, produces byproducts, dwindles, and dissolves. Krishna is unambiguous in Bhagavad Gita 2.18. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. The gross body is the vehicle for experience in this world. It is not the experiencer. This distinction is essential. The eye does not see. The consciousness behind the eye sees through the eye. This is confirmed in Katha Upanishad and quoted by Srila Prabhupada. The self is the seer, not the instrument of seeing. 3. The subtle body, the inner mechanism. Deeper than the gross body lies the subtle body, composed of mind, manas, intelligence, buddhi, and false ego, ahamkara. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.4 as part of the Lord's 8 divided material energies. The mind receives impressions from the senses and generates desires, doubts, and emotions. It is the seat of sankalpa, resolve, and vikalpa, doubt. The intelligence discriminates between right and wrong, between the real and the unreal. When intelligence is purified, it serves the soul properly. When contaminated by the modes of passion and ignorance, it binds the soul to repeated birth and death. The false ego is the most dangerous of the 3. It is the mechanism by which the soul misidentifies itself with matter. Ahamkara says, I am this body. I am this nationality. I am this social position. All secondary identifications flow from this primary illusion. Srila Prabhupada explains in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 3.26.1 that the falsi ego is the cause of entanglement in material existence. It generates the sense of I and mine that binds the soul to karma. The subtle body travels with the soul at the time of death and determines the next birth. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. The subtle impressions of a lifetime accompany the soul into the next life. 4. The causal body, the seed of existence. Beyond the subtle body lies the causal body, Karana Sarira, which is the dormant state of the conditioned soul in deep sleep or during the dissolution of a cosmic cycle. In this state, the gross and subtle bodies are temporarily withdrawn, but the seeds of future manifestation remain. The 3 bodies, gross, subtle, and causal, form a layered covering over the pure soul. Srila Prabhupada references this structure throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly in the 3rd canto's analysis of the creation of the material universe and the creation of the individual living entity. 5. The Atma, the real self. Within all these coverings, within the gross, subtle, and causal bodies resides the Atma, the individual soul. This is the real self. Krishna describes it with stunning precision in Bhagavad Gita 2.20. For the soul there is never birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. The Atma is described as Nitya, eternal. It has no birth and no death. Sarvagata. All-pervading in the sense that it can travel anywhere within material existence. Sthanu. Unchanging in its essential nature. Akala. Immovable in its identity. Sanatana. Primeval. Ancient. Having always existed. The Atma is the size of 1/10,000th of the tip of a hair. Svetananda Upanishad 5.9, quoted in C.C. Madhya 19:138. It is atomic in dimension, yet it pervades the entire body with consciousness. Srila Prabhupada explains this with the analogy of a gem. A small gem can illuminate an entire room. Similarly, the atomic soul illuminates the entire body with awareness. The Atma is Sat, eternal, Set, conscious, and Ananda, blissful, in its pure nature. These three qualities are the constitutional nature of the self. In material bondage, however, these qualities are covered. The soul experiences a perverted reflection, temporary existence instead of eternity, ignorance instead of knowledge, suffering instead of bliss. 6. The Paramatma, the supersoul, within the individual soul, Jivatma, is not alone in the heart. The Lord himself is present there as the Paramatma, the supersoul. Krishna reveals this in Bhagavad Gita 13:23. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul. The Mundaka Upanishad describes two birds sitting on the same tree. One bird eats the fruits, the other simply witnesses. The eating bird is the Jivatma. The witnessing bird is the Paramatma. The Jivatma makes choices and experiences the results. The Paramatma sanctions, witnesses, and guides. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport to Bhagavad Gita 1861 that the supersoul is situated in the heart of every living being and is directing the wanderings of all living entities. This is not a metaphor, it is a literal description of the actual arrangement within the body. The Paramatma is the source of intuition, conscience, and ultimately, the inspiration to seek the absolute truth. When the sincere soul turns toward Krishna, it is because the Paramatma within is guiding that turning. 7. Consciousness. The symptom of the soul. Consciousness is not produced by the brain. This is one of the most important philosophical points in all of Srila Prabhupada's teaching. He writes in his purport to Bhagavad Gita 2:17 that consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Where there is soul, there is consciousness. When the soul departs, consciousness departs. The body remains, but no one is home. This is directly contrary to the materialist position that consciousness is a product of biochemical processes. Krishna refutes this in Bhagavad Gita 13.34. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. The consciousness of the individual soul is individual and finite. The consciousness of the supersoul is universal and omniscient. The difference between the two is the entire basis of the Jivatma and Paramatma distinction within Vaishnava Vedanta. Srila Prabhupada makes this point repeatedly against the monist Advaitavada position, which claims that the individual self and the supreme self are ultimately identical. He argues from the Bhagavatam and the Gita that while they are qualitatively one, both are conscious, both are Sat, Chit, Ananda in nature, they are quantitatively different. The ocean and the drop of ocean water are both salt water, but they are not the same quantity. 8. The coverings of the soul. Panchakosha. Though the Panchakosha analysis appears primarily in the Taittiriya Upanishad and is most elaborately developed in the Advaita tradition, Srila Prabhupada acknowledges the five-sheath framework and integrates it within Vaishnava understanding. Annamaya Kosha, the gross physical body sustained by food. Pranamaya Kosha, the life force or vital air that animates the gross body. Manomaya Kosha, the mental sheath composed of mind and the five knowledge-acquiring senses. Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intelligence sheath, the discriminating faculty. Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath, which in the Advaita reading is the causal body, but in Vaishnava understanding is not the soul itself, but rather a covering of relative spiritual experience. The actual soul is beyond all five sheaths. The key Vaishnava correction here is that the self is not Anandamaya Kosha. The self is the witness of all five sheaths. Srila Prabhupada consistently points beyond the sheaths to the actual Atma, and then beyond the Atma to the Paramatma, and ultimately to Krishna. 9. The three modes and consciousness. The quality of consciousness in the conditioned state is heavily determined by the three modes of material nature: goodness, sattva; passion, rajas; and ignorance, tamas. This is explained with extraordinary detail in Bhagavad Gita chapter 14 and again in chapter 17. The mode of goodness brings clarity, knowledge, and happiness, but binds the soul through attachment to knowledge and happiness themselves. The mode of passion generates desire and restlessness, binding through attachment to action and result. The mode of ignorance covers knowledge entirely and produces delusion, laziness, and madness. Pure consciousness, the consciousness of the liberated soul, is transcendental to all three modes. It is called Suddha Sattva, pure goodness, which is no longer material at all, but is the mode of the spiritual world. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 19. When the heart is completely cleansed of all modes, pure consciousness of Krishna arises naturally. 10. The living force, prana, and the soul. The soul is not identical to the prana, life force. This is an important distinction. The prana, composed of 10 different airs operating within the body: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, and 5 minor airs, is the mechanism by which the soul interacts with the gross body. It is part of the subtle body, not the soul itself. Srila Prabhupada explains in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.25 that the living entity is the master of both the body and the life airs. When a yogi at death can direct the life force upward through the Sushumna channel to the Brahmarandra, the aperture at the top of the skull, the soul exits through the highest point and can reach the higher planets, or even transcend material existence. This is the science described in Bhagavad Gita 8:12-13. 11. KRS-NA consciousness, the restored condition of the soul. When the coverings of gross body, subtle body, and false ego are gradually removed through the process of Bhakti Yoga, the soul's original constitutional nature is revealed. This is not a new condition artificially created. It is the original, natural condition of the soul restored. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu describes the constitutional nature of the soul in the 6th Astakam. In his teachings, recorded in Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 20.108-109, he states, "It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna, and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. The Atma's natural state is service to Krishna. This is called Jivera Svarapahaya, Krishnera Nitya Dasa. The soul is eternally the servant of Krishna. This is not a condition of bondage. It is the condition of perfect freedom, because it is the soul's actual original nature. In bondage, the soul tries to enjoy independently, and this produces all suffering. In liberation, the soul serves Krishna with love, and this produces infinite bliss. The difference is not a change of identity, but a restoration of identity. 12. The destination. Beyond Brahman, Paramatma, to Bhagavan, Srila Prabhupada carefully explains in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11 that the absolute truth is realized in 3 progressive stages. Brahman, the impersonal effulgence of the absolute. This is realized by the jnani, through mental discrimination. The soul here recognizes itself as not matter, but has not yet recognized its relationship with the personal God, Paramatma, the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart. This is realized by the mystic yogi in deep meditation. This is a higher realization, but still incomplete. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, with his form, qualities, pastimes, and personal relationships. This is the highest, most complete realization of the absolute truth. The devotee in Krishna consciousness goes directly to Bhagavan. The goal is not to merge into the Brahman effulgence, losing individual identity. The goal is to enter into the eternal personal relationship with Krishna, in the spiritual world Goloka Vrindavana, and experience infinite Ananda in loving service. Conclusion: the real self is not the body. It is not the mind. It is not the intelligence. It is not the ego. It is the eternal, conscious, individual soul, part and parcel of Krishna, whose natural condition is to serve him with love. All of material existence is a long detour from the simple truth. The entire process of Krishna consciousness, hearing the Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name, serving the devotees, following the four regulative principles, is designed to cut through all layers of covering and restore the soul to its original, magnificent, blissful condition as a lover of God. As Srila Prabhupada summarizes in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita as it is, the Gita is better understood by a person who is a devotee of Krishna. It is a great science, and each one of us must practice this science for our benefit.